Hey guys, it's Allie. And before I start this video, I do want to trigger warning. This is not necessarily the happiest story time, and the title of the video should lean onto that. I am going to probably warn Kaz not to watch this because it's just going to make them sad, and I don't like doing that. So, story time. I was in a mental hospital for a week and a half, I think. I don't know, this was years ago. So I was 14, and it was really at the height of, or 14 or 15, somewhere in there. And this was really at the height of me being just generally unhappy with life in general. I was having issues at home. There were issues with my dad and my mom and everything, and it was just a bad time of year for me, and it was just not a good time for me. Long story short, I drank half a bottle of toilet cleaner and fell asleep in my bathtub. Full disclosure, there were other things that I had did in attempts to kill myself and commit suicide. And among those things, I attempted to slit my own wrists. And it didn't work because all of the knives in the house were too fucking dull. And I couldn't bring myself to cut myself too deeply just because I didn't want to leave that much of a mess for my family to clean up. There were firearms in the house, but again, I didn't want to leave a mess. And I decided that poisoning was probably the cleanest option, especially to do in the bathtub where all the mess would be contained. And I did think about this for a while. I had started my suicide note about the time I was 11 or 12. I had started the first draft, and I'd really been working on it for years and years, and just trying to get everything out and what I needed people to know. And longtime viewers know about the trauma and things that no one at this point had known about. And all of these things were in my suicide note. I don't know where the suicide note went after, but, you know, it's not really important to the story. Anyway, after my parents came home and found me asleep in the bathtub, for whatever reason, the toilet cleaner didn't poison me as much. It made me really tired, and I just fell asleep. And that's it. Went to the hospital, got all my vitals checked, all that other stuff. They made me pee in a cup. They thought I might have been pregnant. There was just a lot of things that they did. And this was on Halloween night. So I was sitting in a hospital room with a nurse guy who was supposed to be babysitting me, basically, making sure I didn't try anything stupid or anything like that. And this nurse was dressed up as Mr. Incredible from The Incredibles. I don't know why I remember that specifically, but I do. And I was, you know, in my pajamas, all that other stuff. I just generally had a shitty day, and he was nice and happy, and I, being me, pretended it didn't happen, and pretended that, you know, everything was fine, and I was talking and laughing and joking around with him and all that other stuff. And it took until like 1 a.m. for them to find a spot for me in a psych ward type thing. They called it a behavioral health unit. And they put me in a room with another girl, and I just kind of sat on the bed all night. And in the hospital, I was under constant surveillance. They had, like, the doors to the bathrooms, there was a gap underneath about 2 feet and a gap up top about 2 feet. So you really had no sense of personal space. You had no sense of this is my, privacy, anything like that. The morning came around and they knocked on the doors and had everyone come out into like the main room where there were a bunch of couches and like stuff like that. And there were a bunch of other girls there. And, we were required to go around the room and tell people why we were there and what happened and all of this shit. And it became very apparent to me that I was the youngest person there. All of the others were in their later teens or 20s. And I was, a fresh-faced little 14-year-old that had my note written since 11. And it was very quick for them to put me on all kinds of medications. And I remember having to take a nap in the middle of the day, like having to, because I was just like dozing in and out in the middle of group, in the middle of like lunch. And they were just like messing around with medications. And I remember getting really sick for a while. Like I was nauseous and fatigued and just not feeling great. And at that point they did a second pregnancy test because I was nauseous and fatigued. Nothing to do with the side effects of all the fucking drugs they were pumping into me. And they were really upset with me for not eating everything that was like on my plate at all meals. And like they were looking at me and saying that I might have like the semblance of or the beginnings of or like even a pre-existing eating disorder. Now, y'all have seen me mostly naked. Do I look like... I mean, I get it. Like, eating disorders are without a body to look at, right? But I just eat what I like and what is enough for me. And I'm one of those people that, like, I eat like a bird. I don't eat meals a day. I snack throughout the day because that's just how I work, I guess. And they were just continuously angry with me because I refused to participate in a lot of group events. And, like, I didn't want to watch all the movies they were watching. Like, I just wanted to sit in my room and fucking read The Book Thief or Wuthering Heights because I brought both of those books with me to the thing. And I just remember people being pissy at me for not wanting to talk to any of these other girls. And, like, these were all grown-ass women. They didn't want to talk to me. Like, I'm a fucking child. So it was just really weird. And the nurses were all kind of assholes and very strict and, didn't allow me to do certain things. And there was just... I remember we were allowed to have, like, tiny, like, airport bottles of shampoo and conditioner. And I remember looking at the bottle and it was all, like, natural ingredients. So if you drank it, nothing would happen. However, the ingredients in one of the bottles was aloe vera. And I'm allergic. And I drank that. And then I had to get fucking EpiPen and all types of shit. And that wasn't fun at all. But, they didn't want to fucking... Apparently, no one had looked at my chart when they gave me my shit. And I'm sorry if you hear, like, that. I'm playing with scissors under here just to keep my face from breaking out into tears because this isn't something that I like talking about. And I was on the medication from that fucking bullshit for almost a year. And then I just threw all the pills away and I was like, nope, I'm done. I don't like it. I don't like the way it makes me feel. I don't like being a zombie. I don't like being tired all the time. I don't like being sick. I don't like it. I'm done. And I was supposed to be in therapy for a while after it, and I just didn't go. And, most of it wasn't even, I don't want to go. It was my parents literally being too busy to take me to therapy. And if I'm being honest, it wasn't the last time that I had attempted. And it wouldn't be the last time. And it wouldn't be the last time I even thought about attempting. Like, it's mental health is something that I try to be open with you guys about and try to talk about in a sense that I want people to know that they're not alone. But at the same time, I am very uncomfortable showing any kind of weakness. And part of that is because of trauma. And I don't know. I'm trying my best. But yeah, mental health centers aren't padded rooms and straitjackets. They're people getting pissed off at you because you didn't finish a salad, and nurses sending you to bed early because you didn't want to talk during group. Like, it's not screaming and, oh, you're gonna get injected in the ass with some fucking sedative for misbehaving. It's more, you need to go to your room. Like, they treat you like a toddler. And for the most part, when you're having a manic episode, you are, for all intents and purposes, a toddler. And, you know, they tried diagnosing me with a couple of things, and none of them really stuck. And in the end, as an adult, when going to therapy on my own, and my own terms, and, like, deciding that I needed to do what's right for me instead of waiting for someone to, you know, help me as I had to as a teenager, because you can't sign yourself up for shit like this. And there's really no way to talk to a school counselor or anything, because the school counselors are all assholes and don't fucking care. Sorry, I'm getting really emotional. But it's just, as an adult, being able to do things for myself is just making a world of difference. And getting an appropriate diagnosis with the depression diagnosis and the PTSD diagnosis, it helps. Because beforehand, they wanted to diagnose me with bipolar disorder or manic depressive bipolar disorder because of how I would just switch and stop feeling whatever I'm feeling. And it's not like that for people who have PTSD. You switch out of necessity, out of survival, because it's what you have to do to get through the rest of your day. It's what you have to do to, you know, survive, and not have people thinking you're crazy for breaking out crying over the smell of a candle. And it just, you know, you of course, there's times when you can't break out of it, and you're having a flashback, and you're interacting with them, and it's just, there's no way to break out of that. But there's times where you are emotionally stricken, and you just decide you're not going to feel that right now. You're not going to deal with that right now. You're going to put it in a bottle and put it on a shelf and leave it. And, you know, mental health for teenagers, especially younger kids and teenagers, is trash, because they don't listen to the kids, they listen to the parents and how it affects their behavior and their school. They don't listen to how it affects the kids emotionally. Like, I think I had 2 therapy sessions while in the hospital, and every time they would have me call my mother right after, knowing that I had told them that she doesn't care, she doesn't listen. And, like, there's a whole trope of, like, oh, my mom doesn't care, my mom doesn't listen, because they literally fucking don't, okay? They don't. And, you know, as an adult, you recognize that it's not normal for an adult to not listen to you when you are legitimately feeling this way. And it changes the way that you think about people and the way that you interact with other adults, knowing how they should respond to certain situations. And yeah, there's just, that whole hospital was trash and not great. It didn't help at all. I got home and it was still in the same fucking rut. The drugs didn't help. They made me more tired. It made it harder for me to study. And because I wasn't studying properly, my grades were slipping, and I was even more anxious and even more depressed. It just, not great, not fun. Anyway, that's my own personal experiences with mental health professionals and how the majority of the ones that I have met are terrible. And how I feel still that therapy is garbage and it's useless. Because, you know, it's especially useless as a child because they're not listening to the kids. They're listening to the adults around them. And it's just, you know, it doesn't help. Like, you tell the mental health professionals around you that there's a adult in your household who is molesting and raping you, and they turn around and send you right back to that house. And there's no effort whatsoever to keep them away from you. And you have to wait until you're fucking 18 years old and in college to get out. You know? It's just... it's a lot. It's a lot to deal with. It's a lot to take in emotionally. And I'm still feeling it to this day. It's been 2 years since I left, and I'm still not okay most of the time. And for the most part, that's okay. I'm dealing, and I will continue to deal. I will see you on a Tuesday or a Thursday, because I'm not giving up. Fuck it. I'm outliving all of the fuckers who made my life hell. See y'all later.